What's up, everybody? Today we're diving back into the Gilgo Beach case and the suspect everyone's talking about, Rex Heuermann. Now, after last week's video, I saw one question pop up again and again in the comment. How is this case mostly circumstantial? If there's DNA, if there's video, if there's so much evidence? So today, we're going to break it down the simple way. We're going to explain the difference between direct evidence and circumstantial evidence, and then we're going to apply it to the evidence we actually know exists in this case, based on what's been discussed publicly so far. A lot of people hear the word circumstantial and automatically think that means, oh, the case is weak, but that's not always true. In fact, most cases that go to trial are built on circumstantial evidence, and some of the strongest convictions ever have come from a solid chain of circumstantial proof. So we're going to define it, give examples, and then look at how it fits into this investigation. If you're interested in this case and you want us to keep covering it, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Because this case is developing fast, and the deeper you go, the more questions start piling up. All right, let's talk direct versus circumstantial evidence. Here's the simplest way to explain it, and it's very similar to how juries are instructed in court. Direct evidence is direct proof of a fact, like an eyewitness testimony. Circumstantial evidence is a chain of circumstances that points to the existence of a fact. Circumstantial evidence is based on deductions or logical conclusions you reach from the facts you do know. And here's the key thing people miss. Something can be direct evidence of a fact, but still not be direct evidence that the defendant committed the crime. So what would direct evidence look like in a case like this? Direct evidence that someone committed a crime would be things like a video recording showing the person committing the crime, an audio recording of them admitting to it, a confession, an eyewitness saying, I saw him do it. In this case, direct evidence would be something like, I saw Rex Heuermann with these victims. I saw him take them. I saw him harm them. As far as we know right now, that kind of direct evidence doesn't exist publicly. Another example people often consider direct evidence is when you can match a thick gun, fingerprints to the weapon, or something that directly ties the defendant to the murder weapon. That type of evidence is often viewed as stronger because it feels like it points straight to the person who committed the act. But now let's get into the part that confuses everybody. When people hear DNA, they think case closed. But DNA can still be circumstantial evidence depending on what it proves. For example, in this case, we've heard about hair evidence tied to the defendant's wife. That can be powerful, but it still raises questions like, how did it get there? When did it get there? Does it prove contact with the victim, or does it prove murder? It's a circumstance that creates a strong inference, but it doesn't show the crime happening in real time. Circumstantial evidence is also things like the defendant being near the location, the defendant having opportunity, the defendant's family being out of town during certain time windows. In this case, that's one of the biggest points people bring up. If the family is gone and the crimes happen in that same window, that doesn't prove guilt by itself, but it adds a layer to the overall picture. Here's the easiest example to understand the difference. Direct evidence is like a video showing it raining outside. Circumstantial evidence is when you step outside and you see the ground is wet, people have umbrellas, clothes are soaked. You didn't see the rain directly, but you can logically infer it happened. That's circumstantial evidence, and this is what I want everyone to remember. Circumstantial evidence can be extremely strong, sometimes even stronger than direct evidence, because direct evidence can still be challenged. For example, DNA can be attacked depending on contamination collection methods, how clean the sample was, how it was interpreted. So just because a case is circumstantial doesn't mean it's weak. It means it's built on a chain of facts. Now let's apply this to what we've seen in the bail documents. Let's say there's a camera photo of Rex inside a store. That is direct evidence of one fact: he was in that store. If it shows him purchasing something with cash, that's direct evidence that he made that purchase, but it's not direct evidence of murder. However, that direct fact can become circumstantial evidence when you connect it to the larger story. For example, if the state believes it was a burner phone purchase, that becomes part of a bigger chain. Same thing with internet searches. If the records show searches about the case, that is direct evidence of the fact that he searched those things. But the reason it matters is because it can become circumstantial evidence toward guilt. Why would someone search that? Why would they be tracking the investigation? It doesn't prove the murder directly, but it adds another layer. When you look at this case, a lot of it is about stacking layers. Phone pings, locations, timing, opportunity, vehicles, searches, forensic links. Each one by itself might not prove guilt. But when the same person keeps showing up again and again in every layer, that's when it becomes powerful. And the reason it's still called circumstantial is because technically, thousands of people could have lived in that area, been near those locations, owned similar vehicles, used cash, been on those roads. So one piece alone doesn't narrow it down enough. But when you keep narrowing, the group gets smaller and smaller. Think of it like a funnel. At the top, you start with a huge group of people in the area. Then you narrow down. People with that type of vehicle. Then you narrow down again. People with the right timing and opportunity. And then you narrow down even more forensic links connected to the evidence. That's how circumstantial cases become strong. We've seen the same style in other cases too. You start with a car phone pings, movement patterns, and then you add DNA again. Circumstantial doesn't mean weak. It means the case is being built through a chain of facts. So when a defense attorney says, this is a largely circumstantial case, that doesn't automatically mean they're going to lose. It just means the prosecution may not have a clean, direct video confession style case. But if the chain is strong enough, circumstantial evidence can absolutely prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. What do you think is direct evidence? What do you think is circumstantial evidence? And let's do this. Rank these cases 1, 2, and 3 based on how strong you think the circumstantial evidence is so far. Murdaugh, Kohberger, Heuermann. Because all 3 cases have had the defense teams pushing the same message. This is a circumstantial case. So next time you hear that word, don't automatically assume it means weak. It just means you need to look at the chain and how strong those layers are when you stack them together. If you learned something today, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.